Hey guys, what's up? Inksmith back again, and today we've got a follow-up from Kai Weiss, who's come back to YouTube. Hooray, everyone. Aren't you happy? His new channel called Just Kai has only one video as of now that is an epic 2 hours and 12 minutes long. Gosh, it's weird. I remember just recently another shamed YouTuber making a 2-hour video that said little to nothing about how innocent they were. Can't remember who was that. Who just did that? That's so weird. I can't remember that suddenly. Anyway, Kai's video is just wow. I've never seen somebody spend 2 hours being completely unaware of every action they've ever done in their life. I mean, this guy, I'm just gonna have to go through it bit by bit. I took notes as I was cleaning my house today while I listened to it, and it's just unbelievable how this guy refuses to see anything he's ever done in his life or in this relationship with Omnia as bad. Like he really is Prince Kai. I completely understand now why he gave himself that name, Prince Kai, because in his mind he is the infallible prince. He begins it by saying he really doesn't want to make it, one of those like apology videos where the person takes a deep breath and sighs and like holds their hand to their head and says, God, guys, I can't believe I have to make this video. And of course he makes it with having the comments turned off. Comments are not open because he doesn't want to deal with the stress of people arguing every point that he makes, which, I mean, let's translate that. Criticism not welcome. Okay, no criticism welcome on anything he's saying. And oh my God, dude, does this guy have a lot of fallible points that he makes over and over again that are just laden with hypocrisy, with a complete lack of self-awareness, and with stories that just don't even match up as he's telling this 2-hour rant. And there's points where I actually went and questioned Omnia, and before I could even get an answer from Omnia, he had already shown that he lied about it earlier, and I said, hey, don't even worry about it. He's already like said a totally different story now. So I mean, he's discounting anything he's saying as proof. Like there's one point where he says she got her channel back, but also she didn't get her channel, and also I didn't have access to any of her passwords, but also I had access to her iPad and iPhone passwords, and it's ridiculous. But the main reason I really want to cover this is in my past, had a very bad abusive relationship. This was right after I got out of college. And God, does this ever remind me of that relationship and the abusive partner I had. Yes, dudes can be abused too. We can be abused. And like, this is such a bunch of manipulation that I saw in my past that when I look back on it now, I'm like, how was I so dumb to stay in this relationship? Now, I'm not calling Omnia dumb. I do realize that at the time, the main reason a lot of us stay in these relationships is, number one, you don't see everything that's happening to you while you're in the relationship. You don't have this outside of the box view that all your friends have that are like, dude, why are you still with that person? So please realize I'm calling only myself dumb in this situation. Okay, so he begins it right away, and you're going to hear this come back again and again. He literally goes over like the same 3 points over and over again, that he didn't steal anything, that he never hit her, and that also he can't believe she made a list asking for money in an Amazon wish list, which, man, that Amazon wish list has got Kai super tilted. Holy crap, man. iPad and iPencil are his. He shows the iPad and iPencil that are his. It's like, yeah, okay. And then he also says, and I have all receipts for almost all this stuff, but he never actually shows any receipts for anything. He just holds up an iPencil and iPad and says, these were always mine. They were never hers. I don't know what happened to hers. I don't know why they're lost. So like, if he's saying they don't exist at her apartment anymore and that they're lost, what does he think happened? That she somehow lost them, or that they like evaporated into air? Like, I get certain things, like there's points where he says that Omnia like lost their college ID or something like that. Like, those are small things where you can be like, okay, a person might get those mixed up as having lost them. But like an iPad, maybe an iPencil, I could maybe see you losing that, but I don't think, if she still thinks they're lost to this day and, had all this time to search for them and they're still not at their apartment, Most likely they were stolen, and sorry, but you are the number one culprit, as you were the last person living in her apartment. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to think you may have stolen them. I do realize, yeah, there is points where things get sort of a gray area because, oh, I bought them and we both used them. And yeah, okay, you really didn't prove one way or the other of what you did or did not steal. Um, this wasn't hers. It was always mine, he says, when showing the iPencil and iPad. Okay. But I mean, the way she described it, I think if I remember correctly, she mentions a sort of type of cover on it that matches exactly the cover that iPad has on it that he shows. But I could be wrong about that. I mean, I can't see everything super clear in the video. It is just a YouTube video with compressed video files. So, like I said, I'll leave that one up in the air. That's like probably the only thing I'll give you that I don't know exactly who is the owner of it, but you also did not show receipts for you saying you bought it. So I really don't understand how you've proven that by showing it on camera. Abuse, that he never abused her whatsoever. The only time he fought with her was an act of self-defense. He starts out by saying, I never hit her, I never abused her. But constantly she was physically abusing me, verbally abusing me, mentally abusing me, and abusing herself. I guess he's trying to use the abusing herself to try and have an excuse for why Omnia showed us the injuries that she suffered from Kai's abuse. If you look at the pictures that she posted online, they were mostly facial injuries, and I don't know if have you ever tried to punch yourself in the face or like slap yourself in the face? It's not super easy to make those kind of imprints on your own face, unless you've really gone to town on hitting yourself. I mean, for the most part, especially the one up above her brow, like it's not easy to get a good shot on your own face. Not that I sit around shadow boxing my face all day, but I'm more likely to believe that those are not self-inflicted. And if that's really what his excuse are, that she was busy viciously beating her own face when I had to hold her down. And yes, he does say, I held her down. That was the only thing I did. Oh, and then later he admits, oh yeah, and I slapped her only 3 times. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? So you just said you didn't hit her, you didn't abuse her, that all the abuse was on you. But then you also say, I only slapped her 3 times. First of all, slapping is, am I wrong? Is that not physical abuse? I don't go around slapping anybody in my life because I know that's abuse. Number 2, who sat there and like counted the slaps? Like, when you really think about like a fight that you've had with somebody, like let's say you go back to high school and you got in a fight with a classmate, can you go back and recall any time that like how many punches were thrown, how many kicks were thrown, how many slaps were done? Like, that's such a ridiculous thing to say with the chaos of a fight, especially like a couple's fight, like pushing back and forth. They pushed me 1.2 times, measured in this many physical grams. Also, those slaps only registered this much on this scale. Like, are you joking? Like, what, did you sit there and count your slaps as you did them to her face? Was there a referee at the fight who was like, 1, 2, 3, you're out? Like, you can't also put that information in there and also say you're completely innocent of any kind of abuse. Like, come on, man. Like, what? Are you serious right now? I didn't abuse her. I just held her down and slapped her 3 times. Yeah, okay. Great, great non-abuse there. What? Okay, and then he says, like, hacking. I never hacked her YouTube. I never hacked her Gmail. We both have accounts that we manage, and we manage each other's accounts. He starts to get, like, really vague on the language here because it's kind of easy to do with how everything melds together on YouTube. So he said, from what I understood, that they both have all their accounts connected. So their Gmail accounts are connected and their YouTube accounts are connected. That makes sense to me because I have multiple YouTube accounts and I have multiple Gmail accounts. I have 2 channels that I update regularly, and all of them are connected to one IP address or one total account. You can just add another account onto that. And I'm guessing that's what he's talking about. So he's saying, I never hacked any of those. Yeah, I don't think anybody was accusing you of hacking those accounts, Kai. I think what they're saying is you logged onto the joint account and deleted her half of the accounts. Like, no one said you were like putting on an anonymous mask of Guy Fawkes and hacking into her account maliciously. Like, you just went in there if you had full access. He said, we managed each other's accounts. We had passwords and access to each other's accounts. Why would I ever delete her account? She could have deleted mine. No, actually, if you both managed each other's accounts, you could have gone in there, deleted hers, then changed the password so she couldn't manage yours anymore. Like, does he think we're too dumb to figure that one out? I don't. Maybe he's trying to say this to people who don't have YouTube channels, but to anyone who does, like, that's really not a good excuse. You're going to hear me probably turning pages quite a bit here. Sorry, I had to take quite a bit of notes. This is going to go on for quite a while. Let's see. He says, that as a manager, all he did was manage the account. But, like, another thing I wrote in here was that your accounts, like, as you manage those accounts, they're only on an iPad and an iPhone, he said. Those things save your password. So, like, even if he couldn't remember how to log into her account, he would still know the password just because it would predictively put it in. So it's even easier due to the fact that he was doing it on an iPad or an iPhone. Then he says, I'm glad she finally got her account back because that shows I never did try to hack it or steal it. But then that was one of the things I questioned later. I was like, wait, she did get the account back? Because now her account is a small account that has to rebuild again. I'm pretty sure she had to start a new account. Yeah, she did. And later he admits that. So why does he even talk about, I'm glad she got her account back? Like, what is he talking? She didn't get her account back. She wrote to YouTube. They wouldn't give it back. They couldn't because it was under a person who was managing it and had gone through the 2-point authentication to erase it. You, Kai, with an iPhone and an iPad. It's very easy to do. And then he also tries to use the excuse of like, well, she had an Apple Watch that would have shown her if I was trying to do that. That'll only work if you have the iWatch YouTube app downloaded on your phone and have access to your account through that before. If you haven't done that, then you won't get a notification that is happening. I know that because I also have an iWatch. So again, you're wrong. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she didn't see it. And also, do you know how much you have to charge these damn watches every day? I hate my iWatch because it cannot make it through a full day without having to recharge at the end of the day. That means she might have been at nighttime when she said it was midnight when it happened. She was sleeping, and guess what people do while they're sleeping? They charge a lot of their technology. Wow, big surprise there. So it says, he admits to holding her down and restraining her from hurting herself. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, dude. Why do you need to hold her down? Yeah, okay. So I wrote this from my own personal experience. I had a girlfriend who in the past would hit me and hit herself and go totally nuts. There was one point where she literally took a knife out and like held a knife to me, okay? I closed the door. I went to my bedroom and I closed the door. It was our shared bedroom and I closed the door and I locked it, okay? I guess you could say, well, maybe she damaged the door then. Much rather she damaged the door than my body or herself. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you put distance, even the police themselves, if you call them during a domestic violence, they'll tell you, put distance between you and the person committing the domestic violence. They won't say, restrain them immediately and slap them in the face 3 times. That is our, protocol for police calls. Like, that's not what they're going to tell you. You put distance. Like, you kind of left the house. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? I had to restrain her to stop her. How could you not have gone to the bathroom and locked the door or gone to a friend's house? Or what? Come on, man. Like, are you kidding me? You had to restrain her and slap her 3 times. That was the only way you could stop her from attacking you. I mean, I can't tell exactly what both of their heights are or, who's bigger muscle build. But, like, in general, a man can easily restrain and hit a woman almost, I'd say 90% of the time. And the opposite is not quite as true. And not only that, even if they could start to hit you or slap you, usually it's not to the point that they're going to land a blow that stops you from closing a door between them and you. Like, it doesn't make, like, she wasn't throwing, like, jaw-crushing punches that, like, knocked you out KO on the floor. You're slapping back and forth. You're having like a lover's quarrel that involves a lot of like slapping, hitting, grabbing, probably pulling, and you just put distance between the other person. If you really want to prove to us that you are the rational person in this situation, and sure, I can believe she probably did get some hits off on you. In fact, I hope she did. But if that was really the reason you felt like you needed to hit a woman, how about you just put a distance between you and that woman before you try to start hitting her and restraining her? There was no point in the past where I was being attacked by my ex-girlfriend where I needed to hold her down. I never had to grab her, push her, or anything. I closed the door. That was it. And she had a knife, dude. So I sorry, I don't have any pity for this. Like, I don't have any pity for this. And also, once again, I wrote down here, how do you explain the bruises on her face? Like, if you really didn't hit her or fight her or punch her back at all, and if she was, constantly hitting and abusing you, how come she has pictures of her face bruised, but there's no pictures of your face bruised? I mean, surely you'd want to share that with the internet to cover your side of the story. She did that, and you're angry at her for doing that. I think the best way to get back at her is show us all the massive damage she committed to your face and body during this fight that she was supposedly, I guess, John Cena you around the house. Like, come on, man. Like, what? Are you kidding me? You couldn't just close the door? So let's see. Create a space, create a barrier, I wrote down. Then moving on, it says, then he complains about being called a monster. She didn't tell the full story. Oh, and by the way, sorry, I wrote she because I'm writing down like some stuff that he's saying. I'm not trying to misgender. I'll mess this up probably again and again. I'm having trouble at certain points through here trying to stay calm because some of his video made me so angry. So I will mess this up occasionally, but it's not out of trying to misgender. It's mostly out of me just getting too emotional and not thinking straight. Because it brought back a lot of memories of my own sort of like abusive past with an abusive person from the past that kind of did all these same things that Kai was doing. Anyway, Amia didn't tell the full story. So are we're supposed to believe you're telling the full story then, Kai? Because the way I see it, and the way, if you recently watched Emily's response video, she says there's 3 sides to every story, both person's story and then what actually happened. She said, I'm sure I've messed some of my story up, and I'm sure Shannon messed up quite a bit too. But in the end, the main story that happened, I think a lot of people finally saw like how evil Shannon was. And I think that's the same thing here. I think everybody is looking at both people's stories, Kai, and I think they're making their own story in their mind. And if you're coming out to be the monster in that story, that's probably because you are. February 18th story. Oh, he brings up this thing from the past, February 18th, that he was locked out of his house and almost died in a winter storm. And that this was when, like, I guess they had sort of their downfall, their spiral of their relationship. That sucks. I'm sorry you got locked out and you were in a winter storm, but like, I think slapping Ami on the face 3 times is a little worse than getting locked out of your apartment. If you were locked out during a storm, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but don't they live in New York? There's like a lot of convenies and like little like places you can go, kiosks you can go into. There's plenty of places you can walk into and get warm. Like, he said his brother came and picked him up and drove him home somewhere, but he almost died. Like, really? You almost died? Okay. Odd how you had enough time to get picked up by your brother and go home. I mean, I don't know how you almost died. I guess if you like laid down in the street in the middle of the snow and let yourself just be buried, you could have died. You could embellish anything to say you almost died. Then he gets into petty arguments over, she says she bought all the food, but I bought all the food and I fed her. She didn't feed me. Then he goes into how he was angry that her parents were paying for everything. Bro, why are you complaining about how much food you bought or she bought if her parents were paying for the whole apartment? I think it would be a small thing to ask for you to cover the food if her parents are paying full rent, electricity, gas, lighting, internet, and everything else. Like, you're really that blind to that? His story is so unbalanced when it comes to the money aspect as well, that it really and clearly shows just how he wasn't self-aware of anything going on as far as like the imbalance in their relationship. Like, taking a step back and looking at it, especially after he revealed all the things her parents were paying for, makes me think that he felt like he was owed the world. This guy like literally thought he was owed everything in the relationship, that he should have the apartment paid for, that he shouldn't have to pay for other things in the apartment, and that he shouldn't have to do a lot of the cleaning in the apartment. Because that's like the other stuff he complains about, but it's like, dude, if if someone's paying for my apartment that I live in rent free, I'll clean every room every day if you want me to. I'll cook every day too. I'll be a damn housewife from the 1950s if you want me to, if you're paying for my damn apartment. Okay. Yeah, and I wrote down here, it says, so if you were paying for food and her family is paying for rent, that seems pretty fair. Yeah, I'd have to agree with myself on that one. She spends 20 minutes talking about what Omnia's parents pay for. Isn't that between her and her parents, especially since they were paying for your living expenses? Yeah, I mean, if you're going to complain about her parents, and then later in his video he complains about how people put too much personal stuff out on the internet, then why are you talking about Omnia's parents? I don't think at any point Omnia brings your parents into any side of the argument. So if your big complaint is that every time I put a YouTube video out, everybody always has to get into our personal stuff, yet here you are putting personal stuff out on the internet. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you see the constant theme of, like, not being self-aware? Like, it's like he's not hearing the words coming out of his own mouth here. If you wanted to see her pay for less, sit down and make a budget or pay it yourself. Yeah, I just thought, like, sorry, maybe I'm old school, but if a man feels emasculated because the woman is paying for everything, then be an MFing man and get a good enough job to pay for everything so her parents don't have to pay for it. Okay, if that's really your big issue, if you're really like, I can't believe we have to have everything paid for by your parents, then get a full-time job, make enough money, and pay for everything yourself. But if everything for you is being paid for and you're complaining about paying for petty things like food and cleaning, shut the hell up. Are you kidding me right now? What's happened to people where, like, one person or the other person just can't be appreciative that they're paying for the rent? Like, are you kidding? Come on. Says he can't believe how much personal stuff she posted about them after talking about her family and personal finance. Bro, you're making a whole video talking about all of her personal stuff, but you can't believe how much she posted. Let's see. Petty squabbles over minor tech. Who cares? Yeah, he goes into all this long, drawn out, petty conversation about, then she made a wish list on Amazon, and I can't believe she made this Amazon wish list because she had an iPhone 12, and then she's asking for an iPhone 13, but before she only had an iPhone 12. Like, that's not actually one of the things on the list, but there's literally things on there where, like, Omnia's asking for things on a wish list of stuff that got stolen, and she's upgraded the model by, like, 1 year. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's actually harder to find the older models on Amazon. So maybe she's just clarifying that, you know, this is the same thing that's out this year. This is what I had last year that got stolen. I don't think she's out there like, hey, everybody, update my tech. Hey, everybody, pay for new stuff. You stole a bunch of stuff from her, so she wants to update it. Oh, God forbid she asks for the newest thing, like one piece of technology that's like 1 year newer. Like, I think that's pretty minor compared to, like, having your stuff stolen, being held down and slapped 3 times. Has she not earned, like, one little tiny upgrade to her tech equipment there, buddy? He starts to complain about stuff he says that she stole. He's like, she didn't steal anything, but a lot of my stuff's still there at the apartment. She took all my Disney pins. Oh, no, his Disney pins. Everybody. So somebody call the Disney pin police, okay? I want them to make an account of this. Maybe Mickey Mouse can show up in a funny little police car and all the Disney villains can spill out and stop Omnia from doing... Sorry, I'm trying not to cuss. Try not to cuss. His biggest thing he complains about is that he didn't get to move his Disney pins out. Oh, goddamn, dude. Omnia lost stuff and blamed Kai. Okay, maybe. Yeah, okay, so he goes on this long rant about, like, probably everything she says is stolen is just lost. She used to lose stuff all the time. Like, she lost her college ID, and I had to go find it for her. Like, dude, this is part of being in a relationship, okay? I can tell you right now, my wife loses stuff all the damn time. She's busy as hell. And I'm at the house more than her because a lot of my work I can do from home. You know how we compromise? I help her find anything she loses because I know she's always in a rush to get to the next place for her job. This is part of like being a sort of secure system for each other, for helping each other out, because a relationship, a true relationship about someone who you truly love, is about a constant compromise of being there for the faults of the other person. The other person you are married to or in a relationship with or boyfriend or girlfriend with or whatever your, relationship is making up for the flaws, filling in the gaps to make yourself a better unit as a whole. And that's a compromise. There's going to be frustrating things they do over and over again. Losing things, not the biggest problem. Now, if she had like a spending addiction and was like blowing through money really fast, yeah, maybe that's something to break up over and that you can't compromise. But like losing stuff is the worst you can put on. Oh my God, she lost her college ID and you had to find it. Oh my God, call the ambulance. Okay, sorry. I don't know why I'm getting into all these fictional government services. The Mickey Police and the ambulance. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Everything Kai lists, as I did, this I did, stuff every day. Oh yeah, he goes through all this different stuff he did every day. I cleaned every day, and I bought food, and sometimes I had to bring it home and cook for her. Oh no, Kai, my God, how did you do it? And then he compares, like, he says all this stuff he was doing for her. So I wrote a list. I started writing down, like, a tick list of, like, everything he lists that he did and everything he said that Omnia did. And, like, Omnia beats him out, like, hardcore. It's Omnia's going to school, working part-time, doing YouTube part-time, paying for everything. Because remember, her parents paid for everything, and she paid for the food, too, and she paid for, like, whatever extra expenses she had at her house. Kai, cleaning, working part-time, grocery shopping. Oh my God. Like, so this is what I'm saying when I say, like, this guy doesn't even understand how good he had it. Like, dude, you had a really good situation. Was she having some dark times once in a while because she was bipolar? Was she having some dark times because she lost stuff and was a bit flaky with where she put things? Yeah, maybe. You know what? That's, once again, that's part of the stuff that you take on in a relationship. You take on knowing the other person's flaws. Don't tell me you woke up one day and were like, oh my God, she's bipolar. When did that start to happen? Oh my God, she loses stuff all the time. When did that start to happen? It's not like a sudden terminal disease that kicks in like 6 months into the relationship. You knew this stuff. The mature thing to do is think about how you're going to have your relationship be a compromise between the two people when you take this relationship on. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to list one thing here. He had to pay for laundry, guys. Guys, he had to pay for laundry. Don't you think probably laundry and paying for rent are equal? I think, they lived in New York, if I'm right, and if they did, that means like rent was like astronomical. Like you would pay, I don't even know how much, probably even more than Japan. And he paid for laundry. So I mean, like probably $900, $1,500 a month compared to like $4 or something for laundry. That seems like a fair trade-off, right, guys? Isolation. Okay, so next thing Kai gets into is that he says, Omnia always said they felt isolated, but I never isolated her. Such BS. Can't believe it. He wanted to pay for her to see her family, so how could he have ever isolated her? Like wanting to pay for stuff isn't actually paying for stuff. That's his excuse. He's like, I would have even paid for her to go see her family. That's not me isolating her. I want to pay for my wife to have a $5,000 Dolce & Gabbana purse. So I guess I pretty much bought it for her at that point if I've said I wanted to, right? Why doesn't she appreciate the fact that I want to buy her a $5,000 Dolce & Gabbana purse? Come on. Like, that doesn't mean anything. That's such a useless thing. I wanted to do this. Okay, I wanted to be a CEO of a major comic book company. I'm not. Like, what? Like, come on, man. Like, what, are you kidding me? I wanted to. And then he gets into, like, she could have gone anywhere she wanted to. I would have let her go anywhere she wanted to. She should have left the house if she really felt isolated. Those arguments are the key arguments of somebody who isolates you. there's also other ways to isolate. I think like in his mind for Kai, the idea of isolation is like you put someone in solitary confinement, chain them to the wall, and only give them bread and water to eat and no contact with the outside world. He's like, well, I never did that, so I didn't isolate her. Like, there's so many other ways to isolate a person that, did she have to go in and describe them like piece by piece psychologically? You can do things like stress someone out, make them feel guilty just for leaving the house. My ex-girlfriend used to do this all the time when I wanted to hang out with my friends. You could do things like take away financial support. It's called financial abuse. Like, be like, oh yeah, you can go out, but don't expect to use any money. And you're like, oh, so I can't go out. You can do things like have collateral. So that means like when they come back, you start yelling at them and super pissed off. So they feel like, I'm not going to go out because when I come back, they're in such a bad mood. It wasn't worth going out. There's so many other ways to isolate. This is such BS that he's like, I never made her stay at the house. And it's like, yeah, what? You didn't physically restrain her against the wall? Great job. Good guy, Kai. Wow, you're the best. Like, come on, man. Like, his ideas are like so elementary when it comes down to how he sees anything he did wrong. He's like, well, I never did this. And it's like, well, your idea of what that is not an actual mature adult idea of how people go through these relationships. All right, he comes back to hacking into her account again. My God, he keeps coming back to this again and again. Like, he's like, I didn't hack into her account. He kind of rotates over the same things again and again, speaks slightly on it, and then when he starts to reveal too much information, stops, and then changes the subject again. Goes back to saying he never lied about, that she lied to him about getting a protective order. That he says that, he was told he could come over to the house and get his stuff from her, and that she said she was just going to leave the house and go see a friend, and that's when she called the police and pulled the protective order off and had him kind of like, I guess, hoodwinked and taken by surprise that the police showed up and arrested him. That's not how that works. Like, that's not how the police work. If you call them and you say, like, this person's showing up to my house, I'm not there right now, but they're about to bust in and just start taking stuff, like, the police are not just going to go in there and be like, put your hands against the wall, you're breaking it. Like, first of all, they're going to be like, hey, what are you doing here? They're going to talk to the person. They're not just going to start screaming their head off that they think the person's busted in trying to, like, abuse you or whatever. Like, I'm sure they had their reasons. I'm sure you were confrontational. I'm sure you weren't just like, oh, my goodness, I am very surprised. I just thought I was coming in here to grab a few things. Like, she has a reason to get a protective order. She didn't trick you into, like, having the protective order put against you. Then he gets into, like, why are people not staying neutral? They don't know the full situation. Well, Kai, people aren't going to stay neutral on YouTube when you put all your dirty laundry out on YouTube. Like, I really hate this whole argument of like, why is everybody got to talk about this on YouTube after I just put it on YouTube? We'll get into that later, though. I'll call that one out later. He starts talking about Thuman. I don't know Thuman as well as anybody else does. And he says Thuman originally was totally neutral on both sides of him and Omnia. And that after all this went down, Thuman took Omnia's side. And why didn't Thuman stay neutral on this whole thing? Well, maybe Thuman saw something that we all saw. I mean, why is everybody else taking Omnia's side? Why is Omnia not having to make a 2-hour and 12-minute video defending what she did? Probably because it's looking pretty sane from her point right now. She was a woman who wanted to protect herself from a dude who was going crazy. Like, I think we can all pretty much see that just from what she posted, from the evidence she showed. I mean, like I said, you're more than welcome to show all the injuries you took supposedly from her abusing you. You're more than welcome to post these supposed receipts you have of all the stuff you bought yourself and didn't steal from her, but you haven't done that. So if you're going to come to YouTube and say you have evidence and then not show any evidence and be surprised that the YouTube community not only talks about it, but takes Omnia's side when you don't even back yourself up with anything you're saying, it just doesn't make any sense. And again, is another insight into how self-unaware you are. And then he gets into like, why does everybody got to trash talk me? Trash talking's so lame. And I wrote down here, you can't stoop to trash talking and then say it's bad for others to trash talk. Like, he starts trash talking Thuman, And then his big thing is like, he can't trash talk. Thuman's such a jerk. Like, it's like, so you can trash talk Thuman, but when Thuman does it to you, it's not okay. Like, it doesn't, it's totally contradictory. It's hypocritical. This is pretty much the Akumu situation all over again. You talk trash, Akuma called you out, and he talked trash. You didn't like it, so you DMCA'd him. That's your view. That's your point. Your point is always that it's okay if I do it, but if you also do it and it's about me, that's not okay. That's your point over and over again, and we see that clearly, and that's why it's also very hard to believe your side in this story, Kai, because you have a predictive personality of being someone who can't take criticism to the point that they would DMCA somebody. It's hard to hold your argument up when you're not willing to listen to anybody else's argument yourself, like even in this video where you've turned the comments off. So if you want to ask that question again and again and again, you can, but you've already answered it with your own actions. Let's see, what else do we got? How can Amnia and Hopeless Peaches be friends? Maybe because you're not there, Kai. That's what I wrote. He's like, how can they be friends now? Amnia always used to talk trash about Peaches and they were fighting before. How are they friends now? Maybe, like, unlike your situation, Amnia was willing to admit where she made some mistakes in the past, and that's how her and Peaches were able to bond and kind of come together and sort out their differences. Whereas you, Kai, you never, ever confront any of your mistakes from the past, hence you continue to repeat them, and you don't have more friends after this. No one did take your side after this, because we see once again the repeated behavior of you never ever confronting anything you do wrong. It's always everybody else. You once again truly are Prince Kai. All right. Omnia called me abuser with no proof. This is the next thing he gets into. He's like, how can she even call me an abuser with no proof at all? So an emergency protective order, you were arrested, and she had pictures posted on Twitter, but she had no proof, right? So it's like, okay, so what proof do you have that you're not an abuser? Like, do you have, your argument was that you were the one who got abused and that's why you held her down. Where's your pictures? Where's your protective order? A man can get a protective order against a woman if she's crazy enough, if she's attacking enough. I could have gotten the police let me know I could have gotten a protective order against my ex-girlfriend who held a knife to me, but I didn't. And I never ever posted about any of this online because I was more happy just to go my own separate way. So, I mean, like, come on, man. Like, what proof? She listed like a ton of proof. I don't know, how much proof do you need? Like, did she need to have like video cameras in her house recording every second? Omnia changed her wish list. Yeah, big deal. He goes over this again. This is like the second or third time. He's like, can't believe she changed her wish list. I can't believe she made a GoFundMe. Like I said, this stuff's got her. It's got the GoFundMe in the wish list has him so tilted. And some of the stuff he lists that make him angry are like literally on a neurotic level. He's like, I can't believe she's asking for Lysol in a litter box for her cat. I didn't even steal those things. Oh God, how dare she ask for common household items? How dare she? I mean, what? Like, even listing those type of things, being angry that someone is asking for those in her house, like really shows me like how unsympathetic you are to her situation. And sorry, once again, I'm saying her. I'm trying to get the gender right, but you can probably kind of tell at this point. I'm getting a little bit worked up with how dumb some of these arguments are. I wouldn't have these charges on my record if Omnia hadn't put them on me. Charges don't stick if there's no evidence. Yeah. He gets into, he's like, you know how much I just wanted to live like a normal life, and I wouldn't even have any of this stuff on me if Omnia hadn't put all these different arrests and protective orders on me. Like, once again, these kind of things don't happen unless you've actually done them, okay? The police can't just make things up. They do need to actually have, like, victim accounts, evidence, and things like that, and that's what they do have to put these on you. They can't just show up to court later and be like, well, Omnia said Kai bad, so Kai go jail. Like, that's not how it works. And then after this, we get back into Kai saying, I never stole anything, and that Omnia stole Kai's mail. And he gets into this really upset point where he said that Kai had his mail stolen by Omnia and that she stole a t-shirt from the mail that was supposed to be Kai's t-shirt. Well, I forgot to mention this earlier, but one thing Kai does admit to is that he took Omnia's Adidas shoes. Now, Kai, you appear to be taller, actually much taller than Omnia. If you took her shoes, there was only one reason you took them: to steal them, to make things inconvenient for her. I don't know why you would need to steal a woman's shoes. If I tried to steal my 4'11" wife's shoes for my 6-foot body, I could maybe like keep my pinkies warm on my fingers like that. They literally look like baby shoes. What are you doing with a woman's shoes? Like, do you have a good excuse for why you took those? Because to me, that sounds like stealing, right? But she took your t-shirt from the mail. Oh, at the address you both shared, so it's not even a federal offense? Because stealing mail is it's a federal offense. You can't steal mail. But guess what? She's not going to have any federal charges pressed against her because probably your name was still under the same address. The fact that the mail was addressed to you and you live there means she's not stealing. I know you want to probably argue that, be like, well, yeah, but like the t-shirt came to me, it's supposed to be mine. Well, those shoes were hers, so tit for tat, I guess, right? Okay, why is she complaining that I am lurking and commenting and watching her stuff? Isn't she doing that also? Okay, so look, my commentary on that was, okay, so ... ellipses. He's saying that Omnia is complaining that he's lurking, watching Omnia's videos, and commenting on Omnia's stuff. But my guy, you're doing this right now too. So 2 wrongs don't make a right. You can't bring up something you're upset about someone else doing it while you are also actively doing it. That is hypocritical. Say it with me. Okay, bro. Like, almost every argument, even every time he comes up with something where he's like, can't believe they're doing this while he does it. Or like while he just talks about him doing it. Can't believe she stole my t-shirt. I only stole her shoes. Are you kidding me right now? Like, do you not see any of the fallacies in any of the things that you're listing in this video? Let's see. Oh, God. And this one. Emily Artful said both people were in a bad mental state during this breakup. So he was really tilted over Emily Artful's comment on Twitter. I never saw this, but according to him, the comment said something like, both Kai and Omnia have stuff they need to work on. This isn't an easy solution where one side is super right and one side is super wrong. This is a solution where both people are like in a chaotic relationship where probably bad things are happening on both sides. Her comment is like the most neutral gray area comment Emily Artful could have made on this situation. She does not take either side. She does not say, Omnia, you so bad. She doesn't say, Kai, you're the worst. Like, she literally just says, like, probably both people were going through quite a bit. It's better that they separate. Like, I think that's the nicest way you could handle that. And I would be willing to say, too, probably Omnia did some pretty crazy stuff, too. Yeah, sure, okay. Like, that's the neutral way to take it. And that's what Emily did. Like, he's like, how dare she comment on something she knows nothing about? But, okay, she's commenting on what she does know about it. And what she does know is the stuff both of you posted. And it does come across as very chaotic from both people. Is she not allowed to comment on that? Also, the fact that she stayed so neutral on it, but you got so tilted by it, really says more about you than it does about Emily or Omnia. It really shows that, like, you're feeling a lot of guilt from this message. Or either that or you're feeling like you are 100% innocent. Which, if you really do believe that like, you've done absolutely nothing wrong in your relationship at all to cause this final breakup to happen or these arrests or these protection orders, then you've got a ton to work on. Like, you've got a lot of self-observation problems. Like, you are blinded to yourself in a way that I cannot describe. Why does every YouTuber feel like they need a scoop? Why do they need to talk about this stuff? This is the next thing. After he finishes getting tilted by Emily's comment, then he gets into like, wow, these YouTubers got to come out here and make videos about my YouTube video. Why are you putting it on YouTube then? Why are you putting it on Twitter then? Why are you shouting out every like last step of what's happening? You can't put everything out on the internet and then ask why everything's out on the internet. Like, are you kidding right now? Like, I have seen other people have breakups, okay? I have seen many other big creators have breakups, and when they don't talk about them online at all, people are really surprised later when they find out that person broke up with the other person, and that's because they didn't make a 2 hour and 12-minute video about the breakup. You freaking idiot. Like, are you kidding me right now? Why does everybody want to talk about this while I talk about this in front of everybody? That's like going to Congress, walking into the congressional, room and starting a rant about somebody in Congress. And then when everybody starts debating you about that person in Congress, being like, whoa, 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 why are we talking about this congressman in the congressional room? It's like, what? Why are we talking about a YouTube issue on YouTube about YouTube people who are YouTube creators? Get real right now. You're really confused as to why this is happening? Like, seriously? This is a private matter about two people trying to sift through issues. No, it's not a private matter. You put it on Twitter, you put pics up, you put videos up, you put YouTube videos up, you put documents up, you put exposed DMs up. How is any of this private, Kai? You've got to be kidding me. There was no point where Amia said that either, where she said, this is all private, don't talk about any of this. Like, she knew. She put it out there, and everybody saw it. She's not like, well, I posted all this stuff, but how dare you guys talk about it? Like, because she's a little more reasonable, I think. All right. Oh, and then we get into the victimization of Kai. I love this part so much. Of course, Kai with this guy, I swear to God, if you ever played Magic the Gathering against this guy, he would tap so many black mana to pull out the victimization cards. My God. This guy and his victimization cards, he has them all lined up in a row. I have never seen a man feel like he is more victimized in his life. Jesus H. Okay, we all know the YouTube community is racist. I guess we're all just racist now. Everybody on YouTube invalidated my mental health. Oh, I guess we all invalidate mental health now. Everybody invalidated my experiences in life. Like, my God, this guy. The fact that he makes an entire video about how he did nothing wrong, but also he's the victim, is just incredible to me. Like, how can you defend yourself and then also go into being like, not only do I need to defend myself, but I was also attacked. Not only did I not abuse this person, I was abused and I'm also the victim. Like, I mean, is this guy going through his whole life blind to everything that is happening around him? Nobody's racist, dude. If a guy's a white dude, I don't care what color he is. If he beats his wife, if he beats his girlfriend, he's a piece of shit. Like, I don't care. I really don't care what your race is. Like, an abuser is an abuser. Like, I'm not putting any race or gender on abuse. Okay, that's leave that out of this. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, sorry, that really gets me angry when I see stuff like that. You don't validate my mental illness. Come on, man. We've all admitted we have mental illnesses. In almost every video I've ever made, I've said things like, now we've all got our damages and things that have like messed us up mentally in the past, but we never want to use these as excuses. But that's like your first go-to. Anyway, guys, we're almost finished here. I'm sorry this is such a long video. My God, it's almost half the length of Kai's video. But what can I do? I mean, and let's see, it's, and then he says, I hate how people make a whole video about one thing I said and just go off of that to make me sound wrong. He's like, yeah, so I get one mistake wrong, and then everybody uses that one mistake to go off on. And it's like, well, no, actually, you've said quite a few things wrong. Even in this video myself, I'm making sure I hit every single statement so that you can't say my video is just one thing you said wrong. There's multiple times in this video where you trip yourself up with your own words by saying she got her account back, she didn't get her account back, I didn't have access, I did have access to her passwords, she didn't have this stuff stolen, this stuff was my stuff, but also she never had this stuff, but also this stuff probably got lost, and yeah. And then he tries to end the video with this whole like, I still love Omnia, and I think this is horrible that this happened with us, and it's like, if you really love her, you wouldn't make these video. You wouldn't try to defend anything you've done. You would apologize and you try to better yourself. You know, he ends it also by saying, I still love her, but she comes back and just tries to reap rewards for abandoning our relationship. Yeah, you really love her with that comment. That sounds like love, my friend. Really, really sounds like great, personal, deep love. Oh, like, nothing you said in this video shows any kind of love or compassion for Omnia's situation. And the fact that you're trying to end it by saying, like, how much you still love Omnia and all this stuff, you know, come on, man. Do you really think anybody believes that at this point? Like, do you really know what love is? Do you really understand what a compromise in a relationship is? Do you really understand what hypocrisy is? Like, I really think he seriously doesn't understand how hypocrisy works. Like, I think there's a serious disconnect in Kai's head for self-observation, like looking inward, like reflection on oneself, rehabilitating certain mental illnesses that we all have, admitting to faults that we're all born with, you know, looking back on a fight from our past and saying, like, okay, this really sucked. I really hated this situation, but here's where I could have been a better person, or how I could not run into these things in the future. There's none of that sort of contemplation within his video. And that's what's the most disturbing aspect of it to me. You know, I've been on the wrong side of a relationship. I've been the bad guy before. I've never been an abuser. I've never had to have a protection order or been arrested or anything like that. But I've been a jerk, and I'm willing to admit that, go back and be like, I didn't treat this girl as good as she deserved. And that's just part of, like, learning to be a better person. And the way you learn to be a better person is you look back on that and reflect on the faults that you made and correct those for the future relationships that you are in. And if that's nothing from what you are getting from this, then Kai, I really fear for the future of any relationship you have or any future partner you have. Because it seems like the way that you let this fall apart and what you let happen to you guys' relationship, and how you've done little to no reflecting on all the bad sides from both people, including yourself, means you're not any bit about to work on improving any part of who you are as a person. Your disposition, your ethos, your demeanor towards others, your treatment, how you see yourself in your own eyes. None of us are a gift to the world. All of us are flawed people. We live with flaws, and we kind of have to work on those all the time. And just like St. Peter says, it's not so much that we become perfect people, it's that we try every day to become better. But the only way you can do that is by self-reflecting on where you've made mistakes in the past. And my friend, Kai, you have made a lot of mistakes. All right? I take this and observe this and see those mistakes. Drink them in. Okay? And find out how you can improve yourself to move on from this. You know, this will be in a past, and, you know, there is a chance that you could improve yourself and come out and be like, these are where I really messed up. And I think you could even redeem yourself by showing what kind of help you're getting to improve the person that you are. In fact, I'll bet you Omnia is getting some help herself right now. And I'll bet you she's improving herself right now and trying to become a better person, a better artist, and just grow. But what are you doing? Making a 2-hour video still ranting about this. That proves nothing. That does nothing. It does nothing but further inflate and ignite more drama and hate in the community. And then you want to pull out things like, oh, no, everybody's racist. No one respects my mental illness. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like I said, you noticed Omnia didn't make a video like this? You noticed that? She didn't have to come out and be like, this is how bad Kai was. We just know from her pictures and stuff. We just know. I don't know. I think I've run it into the ground, guys. I don't know what else to say. I guess Kai's going to keep coming back and keep trying to argue his point. I really don't know what kind of following he'll get after this. I don't really see him getting out of the blame because he deserves every bit of it. And, you know, it's not just blame, it's truth and actual abusive behavior. Sorry if I put in some old pictures for today's video. I literally ran out of art to show. I thought I'd be okay for just putting a 30-minute video in there of my newest drawing from today, but I ran out and had to throw some older stuff in there. So sorry if you're having to watch through old sketches. But this needed to be said. I had to address this video right away because I could not believe how oblivious Kai is in this video. This is 2 hours of complete oblivious behavior to what he's done so far, and no hope for any sort of future correction or self-repair or betterment of Kai. And that's very worrying. It's very worrying to see these kind of egos flexed on YouTube. You know, from the day I started my first YouTube video, I knew there was going to be times where even I was going to be called out for minor mistakes. And I was more than willing to account for those because I knew that was just part of the territory. When it came to getting married to my wife, I knew there was going to be parts where it wasn't going to be like a fairy tale or like a movie. No relationship is where you like run off into the forest with your fairy tale marriage. Those butterflies in your stomach aren't every day of your life. Reality kicks in and you realize marriage, life, relationships, loving and living with people is a compromise. It's finding out what your flaws are so you can become better for them, and it's finding out what their flaws are so you can help them with their own problems. It's not about picking that person apart, tearing them down, and then taking a step back to be like, well, I'm perfect, so there's nothing I need to change. And that's all that Kai has done in this situation, is take a step back from all of it, come out with a new video and be like, here I am, Prince Kai. Prince Kai doesn't make any trouble at all. He's an innocent little perfect boy. Please subscribe. Frustrating. It's just frustrating. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments down below. And until next time, I've been the Inksmith. I'll talk to you again real soon.